Alright, in this video we're going to go over the fuel system. We're going to be installing a Yamaha fuel line, pre-made with the bulb and everything. I've actually already got that running in the tunnel, but we will be installing a Sierra filter, an external filter and water separator, as well as a Moeller 22-gallon tank that's strapped in here, and putting it all together so we can get this boat in the water and running finally before winter sets in. Anyway, before you do that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button. You'll get notifications when I put videos up in the future. Alright, so one of the things we got to do is get the fittings into the Sierra. Now, these are marked in, out, in, out. This is going to be mounted this way on the boat, on the back of the boat, with this being port, this being starboard. So I want an entry of on the port side and an output on the starboard side. So we'll mount it appropriately with barbs here and stops here. So quick interruption. General consensus is you should not use Teflon tape in fuel fittings. I've chosen to do so for a couple of reasons. One of them being that I've done so in the past. I've not had any issues with Teflon tape breaking loose and clogging filter elements or jets, which is even of course worse. Another reason would be that I found out there have been several cases of the compounds breaking loose. They get hard, they get brittle, they break off the threads, they cause the same problem. So I've used the Teflon tape in the past. I'll continue to do so. Maybe I'll regret it at some point. So far I've not had any reason to. The one thing is I use the very thick one. That gray one that you see me using in this video is extremely thick. I forgot the actual nominal thickness, but it's I think 3.5 mils. And I do a nice tight wrap, and I keep it not all the way up to the edge. I certainly don't let any go over the edge. So I think a lot of it's how careful you do the application. I'm not advising that you do so, but I'm just giving you the reasons why I chose to. I like to do is thread this on so that as you're threading it on, it doesn't strip it off. So if you're looking at this, I'm actually threading it on clockwise, and it'll go in clockwise. 2 layers is plenty. Oh, and have it come off the roll that way, because if you do it the other way, it's going to get on loose. If you do it this way, it'll go on nice and snug. I could go with barbed. I'd rather not, though, to be honest with you. I'd rather have the fuel on the lower side. We'll see. We may have to put some more thread on there. I've actually run the hose already, and I just want to see what the fitment's like, because that's going to give me pretty much what I want in terms of getting the hose out of the way. And so next step's going to be mounting this guy. I'm going to mount it after. Yeah, I've looked this up, and I've not used an external fuel filter before. There's, I guess you could call it the great internet debate, before or after the fuel filter water separator, and I'm just going with afterwards because it's the easiest place to do it. Actually, it acts like a little check valve too. Also, the check valve in this can get clogged and destroyed, so I think it's a good idea to have it afterwards, but that's just my opinion. You guys do what you're told is the best, or what you think is the best. So this is the $70 cut of no return here. The barb is about this long. I'm going to put it halfway back, about halfway. And I'm facing it towards the rear, so there's not anything sticking out to snag any, or less snag potential, I guess you could say. You can see it pinching. That should be enough. Alright, so let's get the protective wrap off of this, and I'm going to spin this on. Before we get to the point where we start the engine, we'll actually prime this with gas. We can use the pump if we want, but it's probably easier to fill it up. That's one of the recommendations anyway. Alright, so I'm getting ready to set the Moeller gas tank in place. One of the things Moeller warns about with these gas tanks is that they will expand initially. They absorb fuel, literally up to 3% for gasoline. So in order to accommodate that, they suggest you use neoprene. Now I just happen to have some neoprene left over from some earlier projects. I think it's 9mm, and I'll put a link to it if I can find it. I'm going to cut enough neoprene to put under the tank, and then some extra strips to put over the straps that'll be holding the tank in. So basically what I'm going to do, cut the neoprene, attach the mounts for the straps, and put the straps on. Then we'll put this whole thing together. Now I got to position the tank so that we can get to the fuel access pretty easy. So that's important. And right where it's at right here, that I think is ideal because it gives you enough room for the fuel hose, and at the same time it is forward enough that you have access to the fuel tank. Let me see what it looks like in the front. It's flush with the front of the seat, so to me that's the perfect position. So now for the front thing. Front part. I'm going to mark that with pencil, and you'll see why in a second. This is going to be where the straps are connected. That's actually 8. So I think 8 1/4 from the edge. Alright, 8 1/4, 8 1/4. Put an X where the cut is. And we'll do the same on the other side. So what I've managed to do here now is create marking points to drill where those mounts are going to go, so they're centered and they're evenly off the edges. Alright, so we've got these temporarily mounted. Next step is I'm going to pull the screws out and seal it up with the Loctite Marine Sealant. Now, what you may have noticed with this stuff is once you use it once, it gets clogged up. I've been able to go in there and poke around, get stuff out, but what I do know you can do is cut a little V-notch and you can get some fresh sealant out of there. And then what I'll do is when I'm done, I'll seal that up with some tape, and I'll work my way down for all the little stuff that's coming up, and that way I don't have to keep buying a $14 tube over and over again. Not the neatest thing in the world, but if it bothers you, you can always go after this with a rag with acetone and clean it up. And I think it's important to seal this up because that's the most likely place water is going to intrude and get into your plywood. Now, I know I had mentioned earlier we were going to put this whole pad underneath of it. We're not going to do that because the more I think about it, I'm not really comfortable with having that much neoprene. It's going to get wet, it's going to get moldy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to about 8-inch pieces and just have a pad underneath of it, just these 2 pieces, probably right around here somewhere. And the reason for that is it'll give it room to expand, but it also let water go underneath of it and drain towards the back. After about a month, I'm going to pull all the neoprene off because it says it takes about 30 days for the tank to absorb gasoline and get to the size ultimately that's going to be. Now I'm also going to cut some strips for the top that'll go over the or underneath the straps, so that way it can expand upwards, downwards, sideways, doesn't matter. So at least I found some good use for this old neoprene too. Alright. The other reason to do this is because the neoprene has an uncanny way of sliding every damn wire and not being in the right place at the right time.
Need help guiding it in?
Maybe.
Right there's pretty. No, it can't.
Oh?
That's right where it's gonna have to sit, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I want it.
Okay.
More or less. Kind of close.
It might need it. Let me see something. We got one to come forward a little bit. Alright.
Alright, so in this segment we actually strapped it in. Basically running the strap underneath the cleat towards the stern of the boat, running it up over the tank, putting it in the cleat from the inside out on the front of the boat, and then running it back and snapping it together. For some ungodly reason it took us about 20 minutes. It felt like an hour, but we finally got it done and strapped this in nice and tight. Alright, so we are done. The next step is actually going to be hitching up the boat, taking it out to a gas station. I think I'm going to put 10 gallons in here, which should fill it up about halfway, slosh it around. We've got a few more things we need to do. One of them is tying in the tilt and trim to the gauge on the console and the tank, and after that we're ready for sea trials. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, hit share and like, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.